thank you so very much for coming online.
Sure.
All right. I mean, your success is what you've been doing, and for a matter of fact, know that you are a sales guru, and you have been referred as the best sales guru in Indian terms and trainer in the international terms. So, we want to know about you more.
Cool. So, thanks, mate. Well, I suppose a little bit about me is I grew up in a country called Zimbabwe. I live in a country now called South Africa. And for the past 11 years, I've spent a lot of time traveling, I suppose, around the world to a certain degree, but a lot of time traveling around Africa, teaching entrepreneurs how to sell and how to build businesses. I have a brand called Uncovering Greatness, which I launched maybe about 6-7 years ago. And that came out of a business that I started called The Sales Coach.
Okay.
I suppose a little rundown of me is I've been in sales for over 25 years. I started in the sales game because I failed university, and my mother actually told me to really go out and find a job. And I think, like most people, I didn't have a career sort of. I wasn't going to go into a career of being a salesman. I failed university because I didn't want to go to university. I actually wanted to be a caddy on the US professional golf circuit.
Okay.
And my mother was a teacher, and she wouldn't allow that to happen. You know, as a teacher, go to school, get a great education, great job, and that was the only thing that she was going to make sure that I did.
Okay.
So I ended up going to university, didn't enjoy it, didn't participate, failed, and ended up becoming a sales rep selling cars.
Okay. Selling cars.
That's how I got into sales. Yeah, I became a car salesman.
Okay, great.
So that was the start, and that was probably 25, 26 years ago that I went into sales.
Okay. So how was your experience in the first sale, when you made the first sale, and how was it?
So I think one of the things for me was once I made a commitment that I was going to do what I was going to do, it gave me an opportunity to be able to create income. And you know, in Sales Explosion, one of the key things we teach is sales equals income.
Yes.
So I knew that I had a couple of hobbies. One was golf. The other was, I was 23 years old. The other were extramural after hours activities. And I had very, very little responsibility, but I needed to fund those activities. And I figured pretty quickly, the more cars I sold and the quicker I sold them, the more I could fund what I wanted to do.
Awesome.
And then, so I suppose it was just, I don't think I was really great in the field of sales, but I did a couple of things well. Is I had a very high work ethic. I wasn't scared to work hard. I wasn't scared to call on people. When the other sales reps were sitting down in the office waiting for people to come onto the floor, I was walking in the street, meeting people. I was going to nearby businesses, speaking to business owners. And maybe that was a little bit to do with my personality. I think today I would have been diagnosed ADHD, whatever you call it these days. I just can't sit and do nothing, and so I had to go do things. And that was really the start. I did annoy some of the other salespeople because they told me that's not how we do things here. We wait for people to walk in, and then we share people walking in. And I went, good for you. I'm not going to sit and wait. I can't do that. So that was really the start of my sales career.
That's amazing. So you've been a go-getter from the start.
Go-getter is always an interesting word. I started my first business. I was thinking about it the other day. Actually, I was talking about it in a seminar. I started my first business when I was about 16 at school.
Oh, wow.
I went to boarding school. And what I realized was there were kids that wanted to buy stuff that they shouldn't be buying, but they didn't have any access to money because they couldn't ask their parents for the money to buy stuff that that they weren't allowed to buy.
Right.
So I accessed some money and I created a loan business. So I used to loan these kids money at an interest on a month-to-month basis. And what that allowed me was to fund the things that I couldn't ask my parents for money for to buy that I needed to buy. So
wow, that's awesome. So you help others to help yourself. You have experienced, and what are the lessons that have taught you?
Okay, cool. So I think one of the things, let me talk about first, is this idea of becoming the best sales trainer in Africa. So what I hear a lot of people are saying is, I'm number one, or, I'm the number one at this and I'm the number one at that. And I go, well, that's interesting. But often my question is, what determines that? So for me, I suppose, rather than wanting to be known as the best sales trainer in Africa, one thing that I'm always asking is, am I serving other people and am I adding value in the lives of other people? Because I also know this. Some people will come into my rooms and they won't like the way I teach, which means that they won't think I'm number one. And other people will come in the rooms and they'll love what I teach. So the reality is this. For me, it's, what do I do? Am I doing it with a passion and a desire and image to help other people? Or am I doing it so that I can be the number one and it's all about me and not about we? And I think when you lead that into brand building, the reality is this, is we can build a brand based on ourselves, and that's okay. Or we can build a brand on creating leverage by working with a team, a mission, something much bigger than ourselves, where the brand of me and me being myself and number one is actually less important than achieving the mission through developing a brand collectively with a group of other people.
Awesome. That's a great thought. And yeah, so when the mission is bigger than you impact, and the results produced are amazing.
So I think, just to give some of your listeners or readers sort of some context around that, is 11 years ago I met a guy called Blair Singer. Now, you alluded to Blair in the introduction, and Blair and I taught Sales Explosion together. Blair's been my mentor for over 11 years. Today I'm one of his lead trainers and one of his global leaders around teaching and training in the Blair Singer Training Academy that we have globally. And 11 years ago, the reason I work with Blair today is the Sales Explosion that you came on, I went on in the US 11 years ago. And the connection that I connected to Blair was that word mission. So Blair's mission about teaching, training, building people, I connect to that. Now, at that stage in my life, I wasn't a trainer. I was a salesman. I've been in sales for 15 years. I've been an entrepreneur. I've been in the corporate world. And I was restarting a business. And instead of, I think one of the things that I did, which many people don't do, is I sold out to Blair's brand and Blair's mission. I went, I love what this guy does. I love who he is. I need to learn everything there is about how he does it, why he does it. And what happened is I sold out to his mission. And over that period of time, I learned how to create what I've created. And over that period of time, my brand grew. Now, as my brand grew, so did Blair's brand grow, which means I'm still sold out to his mission. But in that period of time, through selling out to Blair's mission, it enabled me to link into Robert Kiyosaki and Robert Kiyosaki's mission. Awesome. Now, Wristband is one of the largest brands in the world.
Right.
So, which brand would I rather leverage, the Barry Mitchell brand, or be able to connect to the mission of the Rich Dad brand and something far greater than what I'll never be able to create, or then that something far bigger that will allow me to be able to create as an individual something much greater than I'll be able to create by myself. So when you go back to the mission, the team, and the individual, for me, that's always been a critical component to leveraging my brand. Now, someone sort of came to one of my seminars the other day and said, You know, you talk about Blair Singer and the Blair Singer Training Academy, and you talk about Robert and Rich Dad. Why don't you talk about you and your brand? You know, you need to become you and become this person that stands out in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And my words to them were, I hear what you're saying, but I'd rather play as part of a much bigger mission than play as part of a great mission just by myself. So, and what happens over a period of time, as I've learned, is that the reason we're having this interview is because I came to India to do an event with my mentor and coach, Blair Singer, and through Blair's brand, I've now had recognition in my brand from you, which really is just being part of a bigger mission.
Absolutely, absolutely. So again, even when Blair said the same, that your mission is bigger than you, and I could actually see the beauty. And when you said that, yes, I met there and now I'm connected to you, and the way things are building up, it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. Amazing. All right. So, okay, just to go a little back to your story again.
Yeah.
As a child, now till you told about the story after 16 that you started as an entrepreneur at the age of 16. Before that, how were you? Just about you and your schooling and.
So I grew up, I suppose, in a typical middle class household, and what I believe to be especially growing up in the 70s and 80s, it was typical. Go to school, get a good education, so you get a good job, so you can retire comfortably when you're 60. And as we know, that's the conditioned thinking. And today, it's the same thing that's taught for many people. Questionable whether it's actually working or not. What I do know is it's not the path of an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
So for many years, that's what I grew up. But so my mother was a teacher, but my father was a businessman to a degree. He was a farmer and a miner.
Oh.
And so I learned a little bit about, you know, running your own business and doing that sort of stuff. But I think the one thing I often learned, one thing that stayed with me for a long time was, you know, I always grew up that we never had any money. So my conditioning in my little voice was, you know, money is hard to come by. And that was part of the condition growing up that I had, and until I started shifting my little voice, started changing, and I suppose the biggest investment that I made in my life over the time was not on the technical education of myself, but on changing the way I think.
Absolutely, I do agree. Even my life changed after the training which I attended. Again, the little voice part, it changed, and within a year, I am not the person I was a year before. Tremendously changed. Maybe I wouldn't have had the confidence to talk to. See, in India, we have a taboo: foreigner and Indian. A person in a different part of the country and take an interview, maybe, may not. But yes, this has made that change, the little voice part. And Blair, I see him as my guru. Okay. So now, coming again, the failures, if you had some failures, as you started as an entrepreneur at the age of 16, and afterwards you had the sales job which you took up. And what are the failures which you've experienced, and what lessons you got from there?
Well, I think one of the first failures I had at school was when I got caught doing what I was doing. So I got into a lot of trouble with that. But that was like, okay, it was good while it lasted, and then it went downhill. But I think, you know, I suppose maybe part of my understanding, and it's just part of my understanding in life, was failures happen, and how quickly can you get up from them. You know, so I suppose I was very fortunate. I grew up, I played a lot of sport in my life. I know in India, hockey is a massive game. I'm a hockey fanatic. I love hockey. I've played hockey all my life. And I suppose sport is an amazing analogy for business for me. So growing up, I was often younger than my peers. I was a year younger than my year. I was fairly talented, but often because I was younger than everyone else, I wasn't the first to get picked. Sometimes I was the last to get picked. And it's that knowing that you should be on the team, but you're not. Well, how do you deal with that? And it's the same in business, isn't it? Knowing that I should be in the game, but I'm not. Knowing that I should have got the tender, but I didn't. Knowing that I should have closed the sale, but I didn't. It can either be the reason that stops you, or it can be the reason that you keep moving on, and it grows you over a period of time. So the first thing is, anyone that listens to anything that Robert Kiyosaki teaches, Robert will teach you. If you're not prepared to fail, then you can't be an entrepreneur. You've got to be prepared to make mistakes. But there's a couple of things that can help you limit and mitigate those mistakes, and that's who you hang out with, that's who you take advice from, those are the people that fuel your mind and how you fuel your mind. So I don't know, if you want to go and take advice from, I don't know, we have a saying in South Africa that we often use. If you want to go and take advice from your brother-in-law that's never become wealthy in his life but can tell you everything he knows about wealth, that's okay. Go take that advice, or you can surround yourself with people that have done what you want to do. And I suppose I was very blessed in my career. So I went into sales, and within 8 months, I went on a training course, and I met a guy on a training course who did the training.
Okay.
And he came to me afterwards and he said, I need a young guy like you to come and get involved in a business that I started. So I said, okay. So he asked me, how much are you earning? So I told him, and he said, I can't pay you that amount. I can only pay you 50%. But what I can do is I can give you experience and I'll teach you how to sell. Now, most people in my observation today wouldn't move for 50% less money because it's a case of this. But I'll come if you pay me what I want.
Right.
But for whatever reason, I went, wow, there's something about the opportunity that I need to investigate. 5 years later, I had 10% shares in that business. I built the second with him. I built the second largest business of its kind in the country. But importantly, more important than all of that, I had an unbelievable mentor for 5 years who guided me and taught me how to sell. He was an incredible salesman, but I got lessons from a guy that could kick my butt harder than I was ever prepared to kick my butt myself. And that's what started. So one is I was allowed to make mistakes, but I had someone that could guide me in the right direction.
Awesome.
And then, then from there, I had a number of failures. I then went into the corporate world in the same industry. The largest company in the country approached me, and I sold my shares in the previous business. And then I went into the corporate world, and they were an American company, and I headed up sales for them in Africa over a period of time. And then we were doing a management buyout. Long story short, the financial director and the managing director didn't honor the agreement they had with me when we did the management buyout, and I was never given the shares that I was promised, even though I'd grown the business. I'd tripled the size of the business over a 7-year period. And on face value, that was a huge blow. But when I look back in life, I would never work with Blair today if they hadn't have done that to me, because I would never have gone to the US looking for something else. I wouldn't have done it. So fortunately for me, I didn't fight them on it. I'd been in that business for over 10 years. At that stage, I used to get 4 weeks, 20 days leave a year, 4 working weeks. In 7 years, I had amassed 16 weeks of leave. So I had traveled considerably. I had really given everything. And what it did is it gave me the opportunity to sit back and say, do I want to be here for the rest of my life, or do I want another opportunity? And I suppose being someone who's always sort of looked at the positive side of life, I went, what can come positive out of this? I was very blessed. I've got an incredible wife. I came home and I resigned. I came home. She was in tears. And I said, what's wrong? She said, I've been waiting for you to resign from that place for over 3 years.
Wow.
You're the most miserable person in the world. I said, well, what am I going to do? She said, never mind, we'll find something. So on face value, it was a big letdown, a big failure. But when I look back, I would never do what I do today. You and I wouldn't be having this discussion. I wouldn't have gone down that journey and went from there. So I think I've just finished reading an incredible book called The Obstacle is the Way. I'd encourage you to read it. I don't know if you've read it. I'd encourage, any of your audience to read it. It's an incredible, incredible book. And when we think there's an obstacle, often when we actually push through that obstacle and use that obstacle, the obstacle is the way we need to go, and we need to use that obstacle. In that scenario, the obstacle was the way. So that led me to meet Blair. I set up a franchise with Blair. 3 years later, I defranchised myself. I was $1 million in debt, which is 150,000 US dollars. I was over 100,000 US dollars in debt. Another lesson, another, if you want, failure. But through that process, I kept working with Blair. And if that hadn't have happened, we wouldn't have the Blair Singer Trading Academy today. I wouldn't be teaching the way I'm teaching. I wouldn't be on the mission that I'm on. I wouldn't be working with Robert Kiyosaki. So failure is a key component. The question is, can you find, in everything in life, there's duality, isn't there?
Yes.
Can you find the right side of the failure rather than the wrong side of the failure?
Amazing, amazing. So I was actually getting goosebumps when you were sharing your wife being so supportive, and I wanted you to quit that company since 3 years. Like, wow.
Yeah. And I think the reality is I never saw it. I could only see what I could see, and that was how hard I was working and frustrated, and I was driving the corporate wheel and doing whatever I could for my family. And on the first end, my family was hurting and my family was suffering. And it's not an indictment on me. I just couldn't see it. So, I suppose for many people, how many people can't see what they need to see until they're actually pulled out of the environment?
Right, actually, right. And so from what you have said, I feel connecting the dots, when you go back and you connect the dots, you know that that's the right path you are going. And because of few things happen, that's the reason you're here and what you're doing, why you're doing.
100%. And isn't that the epitome of sales?